everyone's petition, but I have
It is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of Planning Board for March 20th, 2025. And we have a quorum. We have the updates. We have the minutes from March 6th. Everybody's okay with that? We accept them.
second.
All in favor? Aye. And we have communications and announcements. An email as those regarding the Brooksy, the funniest name on earth. And another email regarding the first seekers. All right. So under scheduled business, we have a discussion with Diane Fish and guys from Mug and Nathan Quadrille. It's a discussion regarding the pre-scheduled meeting on August 15th, 2024, and a request to subdivide 21 to 23 Library Lane in the HR zone in Woodstock. Represented by James. You, sir. All right, why don't you explain to the board?
Let me just distribute what.
Let me ask a question first. Melissa, you didn't send the link?
I didn't.
All right, well,
You want it or no?
it's only that, you know, I would have put the, I would have put the maps up.
If you want, there it is. Sorry, I told you it and I forgot. There were like 8 people in my office.
What Jane's gonna be referring to.
We'll share it.
You'll share.
Can I? Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
One for each.
You're a rock star.
I'm a producer.
We'll keep you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is James Bacon. I've been doing zoning law I began practice in 1992 and I went to Pace Litigation Clinic in Brown Plant during the summers. And so I've been working on all different types of matters for many years. This is a interesting one, as the board must know. It's an area that's zoned residential, which allows for lots of quarter acre, 10,000 square feet. Originally, in 1950, the map that you have with the pink, it shows that Mr. Castellano had originally envisioned 3 lots at the top of a ½ acre each, and keeping the bigger lot for himself, I suppose. And as I said, since it's on water and sewer, they allowed smaller lots. But in 2001, he came back to the board and changed the lines a bit. It's the second page, and he cut out a lot. He made it down to a 3-lot subdivision. So he never built on those 3 lots that he originally received approval for of a ½ acre each along Orchard Lane. So he decided to go with just 2 lots up there and increase the acreage to 0.8 on that one, and then over an acre on the other one. So the problem is that somehow a note on the plan says lots 1, 2, and 3 have to be further subdivided. Now, that's sort of odd because it's in the hamlet residential area where the zoning says you can have very small lots there because you have water and sewer, the infrastructure is built. The infrastructure is there for the small lots. So we went back to see if we could find any notes in the minutes, anything about it with the reasoning behind this, and there was nothing that could be discovered as to the reasoning behind that. So, in looking at the setback requirements, my clients would like to have a line drawn between the two houses that are on that single lot. And setback, the rear yard is, the side yard is only 10 feet. So there's 36 feet between them.
36 feet, yes.
And so that would allow plenty of room and it would comply with zoning in all respects. But again, the note on the plan requires us to come before the board and get that approval. So I read Mr. Lyon's emails and, generally I agree that notes on the plan are enforceable against future owners. That's pretty much law 101. But on the other hand, usually there's a reasoning behind the notes on the plan. Something's going to be protected open space, and in exchange for a certain development configuration, there's the open space is protected for future residents to enjoy. But in this case, there wasn't any type of reasoning behind that whatsoever. So for that reason, I think that it's a reasonable request of the clients to ask that another line be drawn on the map to allow this split in half. I think what I think is the reason that they put that note on there is they didn't want to have any more development lots, and they weren't thinking about drawing a line between the two houses. I think it was meant to stop further houses for whatever reason, and that's reasonable. I can understand that. They said whatever reason, maybe there's some wet areas or difficult to build in there, and they didn't want another development lot, but they didn't say development lot. They just said no further subdivision, and obviously if you draw a line on the map, subdivision. So that's what we wanted to discuss with the board. And,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What I'm getting from my maps doesn't look like you're drawing exactly.
Are you looking at also county parcel view?
No, I am looking at the maps that I get.
It's this one.
Now let me show you what I have, and then you can tell me whether it's gonna go up here.
Oh.
I mean, part of it looks like the shape is right.
The
This
shape
here,
is basically right there, yep.
but where's the
right.
road? Does this thing go all the way to here?
Here's the library lane goes around like this.
Yeah, and
this-
Orchard.
So the way that the map is configured is that if you're looking at it this way. So if you turn this on its side,
Okay, but what I'm asking you is, if you look at where my little finger is moving around there, is that part of the lot?
No, that's
No,
this,
somebody else's.
that's this lot right here.
Originally in 1950, that was part of
That's
the lot.
this lot.
That's where the three
Okay,
half-acre lots were
okay.
gonna be.
So we've got this piece, that piece, and that piece, and those were the original lot back in the old days, where
Right,
my hand is turning
yeah,
around.
and this configuration was approved in 2001.
Got it, all right,
So
then
now we're looking at this lot only.
I'm sorry, which lot?
The one in,
With the outline, okay. So that has access onto Library Lane, not onto Orchard Lane.
Right,
Lot two, lot two.
and so the proposed line would go right between these two houses. And that's it. So then, that would allow more than 15 feet on either side, which complies with the setbacks, and they wouldn't need a zoning variance, which is. I think that if Mr. Casciano had thought of that in 2001, the board would not have a problem giving him, putting a line there. Because, again, I think that the reasoning was that we don't want further development.
This is 1988, this top map,
That was
right?
the first one. The second one was 2001.
Okay, I'm beginning to get it.
When they
So
had
the
met
way it
with
got
us-
done is the
When they-
2001
When
lot.
they had
Yes.
met with us,
And what you want to do,
basically what they want to do is completely in compliance with what's required.
Yeah, and that third map is,
There's
So-
even 2 separate water bills for those houses.
and this shows the existing usage, right? Each one has its own driveway.
Mhm.
It's being used as different
Yeah.
homes right
I
now.
see, and where it
One of
says
them is
gate,
My rental.
where it says gate is where you would put the dividing line somehow?
Someone to you.
Okay,
All right, well,
now I'm with you.
first of all, about lots that are designated as not to be further developed or further divided. On the survey, I see that quite often, for many reasons. Sometimes it's just because they don't want to be developed, period. The second thing is, as a surveyor, whenever we get a map, and it says not to be subdivided, that's it. There's nothing we can do. So I don't know legally, and we're not a legal team here, I can't tell you how you would change that law.
Well,
I mean,
Happens
you
is
can
that
send it to the county, we can send it to the county, and if they want to kick it back or take it, I guess that's up to them, but it's
Well-
a county law.
you can't go back to 2001
Oh,
and ask the board.
Statute of limitations.
But because this planning board has the authority to change, you know,
we can't change if it says not to be further subdivided.
I
Yeah, we
disagree.
can.
I think you can. I think if you have the reasoning behind it, you can do it.
Well, as I
I
say.
mean, just think about it, if you had a very onerous note on a map, and it didn't make sense, there's no reason you can't go back. I mean, Mr. Lyons did not say that you guys don't have the authority to change.
Well, that's really the question here.
But, you know,
He
And
didn't
he
say-
did, he,
Yeah.
as I said before, when this came before us, as a surveyor, I see this, and we had a subdivision. It was about a 10 lot subdivision. One of the lots in the middle said not to be developed. Somehow, it didn't make it to the deed, it was on the map, but it didn't make it to that deed. Somebody bought that lot and built a house, and they had to remove it.
But this is
Well,
not
but-
developed, this is subdivided.
That's
We're not-
where- that's
we're
where-
not
It's
developing.
a note on the map filed with the county. I don't know how to unfile it.
Well, I've got a case right now in the town of Marbletown, where the notes on the map said that the stormwater plan had to be constructed in a certain way. It hadn't been done in 10 years. We brought action in Supreme Court to try to force the applicant to do the stormwater notes that are on the map and enforce that. We couldn't enforce it. We're still in litigation trying to get that enforced.
It's slightly different, but
So, I wish that note was more enforceable than it really is, but I'm telling you, you guys have the power, and Mr. Lyons did not say you did. He didn't come along and say, the planning board has no authority.
What
I
did
mean,
he
think
say
about
to
it.
us?
How could the planning board not have authority? That is completely in your authority.
here you have all this, but I'll give it to you.
To decide where you
What
put it.
did John say to us? Because that's the question. It's
So-
not the question of what he said to you, it's the
Notes.
question of what he said to us.
All right, well.
All right, you ready? I'll read it. Given the notes on the subdivision map, specifically map note 3 on the 90 map, lot 4 not to be further subdivided, and the map note on the 2002 map, lots 1, 2, and 3 not to be further subdivided, these are enforceable by the planning board. Therefore, the lot should not be further subdivided. The courts have determined the planning board is authorized to restrict development on properties such as through subdivision regulations, so long as such restriction is done in a way as to give notice to all interested parties such as subsequent owners. A map note on a filed enforced subdivision map is sufficient, and the courts have held that such restrictions are properly enforced by the planning board. I checked on the Ulster County Clerk's website and confirmed both the 90 map and 2002 map are filed there. So that language on those maps should be enforced by the planning board, which would restrict those lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 from being further subdivided.
He said should, right?
Should.
I mean, to me, there's the question of whether we can enforce it or whether we must enforce it. But should suggests that we are
Oh, no.
required to enforce it.
That was the second email. The first email, because I explained a little bit more about the situation. So the first email is we did a little, we confirm our initial advice and answer that the 21 to 23 Library Lane cannot be re-subdivided. As previously mentioned, the notes on the subdivision map specifically, okay, you get it. In reviewing case law, the courts make it very clear that there are no statutory authority by which a planning board can reconsider its determination. The courts say that once final plat approval is given, such determination should not be reconsidered. The rare exception would only be in cases where there is a material change in circumstance. Financial hardship does not constitute material change of circumstance, as it doesn't have anything to do with previous approvals that were granted. It is clear from the court opinions that the courts frown upon attempts to change previously approved subdivision plans. Establishing a change in circumstance is a very high standard to meet, must be done by substantial evidence of a change in land, a change in the zoning law. We do not see a material change in the circumstance presented in this case. Our conclusion is supported by a review of it. So they went through everything that we had. Based on the case law read about the treatment to reconsider previously approved subdivision approval of plats and the discussions that occurred, which resulted in. It is our recommendation and advice that 21 to 23 Library Lane cannot be re-subdivided, as doing so would be against the approved plat amendment. Now,
That's pretty clear.
in conversations with Mr. Lyons, you're here to talk to the board, this is what's happening. But if we get to, we're at a deadlock, I can collect $550 escrow so you can talk to him. And that would be paid by the potential applicant. To me, and we'll set up an escrow.
I don't think
account so
any
you
of
can
us
talk
are
to John
hostile to
and-
it. I don't think any of us are hostile to it. It's simply a question of what we have the legal power to do.
Well, let me put it this way. Who's gonna challenge it? You guys, I mean, well, I've had plenty of cases, litigations with Mr. Lyons, and you get two attorneys in the room, you never, I mean, you're not gonna agree on everything, but here's the thing. You see in the second letter, he stepped back. It's not that the board doesn't have the authority. Think about that, that would not be reasonable. If the board decides that something in the past, 25 years ago, was not reasonable, it can go back and look at it and say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Look, the board.
Is there a material
but
change?
Since 1950, there's a material change. The zoning came into a place. You have water and sewer, municipal water and sewer that allows quarter-acre lots, 10,000 square feet. This is well within your zoning. What do you
What's
think?
the-
a
what's
judge
the-
in
let me
Austin has to
explain
do
it.
Date of the
about
note?
that?
Let me explain the process, what happened. When we approve subdivision or a lot line change like that, I actually have to take it to the county, step up to the counter there and hand them that map. And they take it and they look at the other map and they're gonna say, you can't do this.
You know what, let me take a
But
look at that.
then you do it.
I will. You guys sign it, I'll bring it
But
down.
then he has to get through and they have to make the maps and look to approve.
We'll bring the
Let
Mylars
me
down
ask
there.
you a
We'll
question.
have-
I mean, the
We'll
county
we'll-
will see that that
We'll have
can't be
Mayor
done.
Larry bring it down, as long as this board says that it's approved lot, and it meets the zoning, it meets the setbacks, there's no variance needed. It's, like I said, the reason I think that it's on there, this makes sense. We don't want any more development there, which sort of doesn't make sense given the zoning, but what are you changing other than a line on a map?
Let me ask a question.
No physical impact whatsoever.
Let me ask a question. When was that note put on the map?
2001.
When did the zoning come in?
Way before that.
55. But that's still. it
I mean, the
doesn't-
question is there a material change that would warrant it? Because otherwise, it seems to me, it's a slippery slope. We are then doing something that is a precedent for doing it again. And I'm not in favor of taking that kind of a step. I don't think we have the power. I don't think we have the power. Peter, I don't think we have the power.
I've heard plenty of ZBAs and planning boards talk about precedent. In the real world, every case stands on its own facts. And if you're just putting a line on the map, you're not allowing any further development, any further building. It's just a line on the map. Where is the impact? There's no impact whatsoever. Now, if the board wants to vote and say, okay, we'll give you a no, I mean, look.
But like I
What
said,
do you think an Ulster County judge is gonna say? They're
Like
gonna
I
say,
said,
we're
it
gonna
doesn't-
enforce this against the property owner
To
on the
us,
common
to
law?
us, to a board, to anybody, to a survey, to a board, it doesn't matter why it was put on it. As long as it's on that map, that's what we have to follow. It doesn't matter why.
I think it's
could have been for wetlands, it could have been easement development, could have been any reason on earth.
You know, here's a similar thing. If there's a conservation easement, and then the purpose for that conservation easement fails, and there's no purpose for that anymore, then you can go to court and get the conservation easement removed. That's a lot stronger, that's a lot heavier lift than drawing one line on the map. You're not having any impact. You're saying, okay, you can put a line here.
Well, conservation easements are different from subdivision.
I think
Much
there's
as-
no such thing as you're just putting a line on the map. That's the whole business. I would like to know what the other three members of our board
Have you
think.
talked to this guy, the neighbor, Casciaro? Yeah.
No,
That's what we-
Cashero, he's
yeah,
never,
Cashero,
they-
yeah, but they're both Casheros, Frank and.
Well, maybe they would approve, you know, they would
Yeah,
support you.
definitely.
That's what I was thinking
are
too.
they around?
They live there. They live on the other
My
lots
board?
on Orchard.
The question that comes to mind is, why they do this?
That's what I can't figure
Well,
out.
he
It
bought all the
allows
land
10,000 square feet per lot. Why would they do this?
We heard your argument.
to not have
I'm making
development,
mine.
to curb development in his neighborhood.
I'm sorry?
He did this to curb development in his neighborhood, it seems to be.
Yes, he did it for his own purposes. He didn't do it for communal purposes.
And he didn't do it for future,
Precisely. So why he did it,
but he had a legal right to do it. And theoretically, it's binding on future holders of the land, yes? I mean, I have great
The point-
sympathy for this,
The point
but
that I was,
it's a question
exactly,
of
the
law.
point that I was given was, when you buy a piece of property, you should look at the map. That was the point that I, because, yes, because
I
it
mean,
seems like a
unless-
no-brainer to me,
unless
because it
it's
met all
something-
our
unless
dots
it's
and.
something like a restrictive covenant, which becomes illegal, and that's a different thing. But this is not that kind of thing,
The other
as far as
option,
we know.
the other option you can do is go to the county.
Yeah.
You can get an appointment with them and go right to them and they can make their decision.
I know what Dennis Doyle was like.
I know this.
You should put, you should put your cluster in there. They want more
You can take
density.
it to the county, because that's ultimate, they're the ultimate decision.
Either that or the
How much
court.
is it,
So-
500 feet from the county road? I mean, how does that, I know under 239M, it has to be, there has to be some kind of county connection.
Can we
I think,
refer it to them?
Otherwise,
I
they don't
don't
have
think
jurisdiction.
no, he's got a point. So where's the nearest county road?
That'd be 500 feet.
500
It's
feet away.
Tinker Street.
It's, yes,
Which
no,
is-
that's the state road.
Oh.
That's the county road, I can tell you.
212 is a state road, of course.
It's a state road, yeah, but I don't think any of these are county roads.
Any of those
Let's find out.
terminations that we could close? Oh, there was
Parks. And
parks, 4 or 5 things. that
Yeah.
were made.
This isn't the-
Well, I,
Typically the one that we.
I agree with Judy in the sense that we can't start a precedent of just changing what maps say. That we can't.
Can I add
File map of
something?
the county is a file map of the county, and that's it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Makes no sense what they did.
That I agree with.
Makes no sense.
So I want to add to that, makes no sense. I do think that Cashiero said it to not develop further because they own the land. They bought the field from the funeral parlor. So they want the land. So we are not developing. We're just subdividing. The houses are actually separated now again they have their own water, they own electric, own internet, own septic, own driveways. They're already separated. So we could, if with the subdivision, we could say no further development. We could add that on to our clause for the subdivision because
But we did what, after the first meeting, and what Melissa just read, we did our due diligence and we sent it to our attorney. And this is the answer we got from our attorney.
I wish all the planning boards that I've dealt with always follow their attorneys. But they always follow their attorneys.
Well,
And in this
we
case,
tried to,
look at John, I don't know why John wrote that letter. I've had litigation with him before, but you know, when you look at this again, you look at what does it, what is the setting? What is the history? What is the zoning? And what is the intent of this? I know it's on the map. That doesn't mean it can't be. I respectfully disagree with you. If there's a note on the map, the same board that put that note on the map can remove it.
well,
Then
it's
otherwise
up
it just
to
doesn't
the
make
planning
sense.
board, it's up to the members of this
Um,
board.
no, I
Either we
understand.
follow what our attorney says or we don't.
I don't know what the question about county roads was, but the nearest county road, I think it's Rock City Road.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not-
the state
It's
road.
it's not within purview of the Ulster County Planning Board.
Yeah.
I think we're just trying to,
Find a way to do
we're just
this.
trying to, yes, yeah.
We're trying to find a way to do
We're
this
grasping a little
that
bit.
leaves us
What if we were to get
clean.
Cosquiero to agree to remove that language or change the language? Would that be, what,
Or
legally,
some,
how would that happen?
some sort of notarized note
He was the
saying
person
he's
who put it
aware.
on.
Well, that's good. I could go back to the source. I mean,
Because they're still
he's
there.
still
and
alive,
they're-
right?
they're-
Yeah,
yeah,
planning
all-
board.
All three
It's
owners
worth a
of all-
try.
I mean, at this point, and at my recommendation, they've spent money, don't get me wrong, we have a lawyer here, but I do not draw up the maps until the planning board is going to agree, because right now prices are astronomical. We all know, prices are astronomical, as we all know. So this is why we're here and why we're discussing, and there isn't an application yet, because they need to know if they're gonna be able to do this before they get really.
For
too
future
deep
sale.
in.
I mean, I have absolutely no objection to
Neither do I.
Yeah.
It's just a legal
division would
question.
work. I agree with the square footage.
I
agree
promise
with-
I will defend any lawsuit that's brought against you guys if you approve this. It will be no problem at all.
What do we think, a notarized letter from the
Confident
sheriff?
that I will prevail before
the
Judge
sheriff.
Mott, Judge, all the judge, Judge Brown.
I'm asking for it to be notarized.
I suppose if we had a
I
notarized
don't,
letter.
I just don't have the answer because I've never gone into this. To me, it's always been, if you can't buy that, was a
Yeah.
different story, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
You guys tell me what you
I
want.
mean, would Cosquiero be, since they don't own this land anymore, be able to rescind that statement?
That is the question.
But it's just from a surveying point of view, if we had a big 20 lot subdivision, a major subdivision, and one of the lots said, don't build, and we get a lawyer, and says, well, I can do it. What a precedent that would set.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I think going back to the original grant or the person, look, he could have subdivided it, he could have built 4 houses on that.
I understand it, but.
And
it's
then
what
he
it
came in,
says.
so I think by getting into input, we'll give the board a comfort level as to why this was put on here. And to say.
Can we ask John whether
Is,
that would make it kosher?
We can if we.
That's a 10-minute phone call, probably.
I mean, our lawyer says that's what the map says.
550 will at least,
The less I say
let's-
about. the
Let's,
lawyer,
let's
that-
find that out. I don't think the legal cost to you is gonna be,
yeah, no, and that's, I
No,
can,
that's fine.
in the next few weeks, I can reach out and ask this question if, okay, board, I will reach out to John Lyons and ask if we have, I guess it's kind of considered material then. If we can get Frank Cashiero to rescind that note for what they plan to do with no further development on the new maps to be filed, are we allowed to let this subdivision go?
There's another part to the question.
Yes.
How do you rescind something that makes no sense to begin with?
Okay, well, John, I'm trying to make things right here.
Oh,
he can say, I don't know why I did it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I'm willing to rescind it. Or he
what
can
do you
say,
think?
here's the reason I did it, and I'm
Agree
not willing to rescind it, but he's got some legal right
Yeah.
in this.
So you guys gotta tell me where to go.
what he did was rewrite our zoning. That's what he did. The zoning would allow that easily, and I
Oh.
mean, the owner at that time decided to rewrite the zoning.
100%.
To be more
how many-
restrictive than the zoning
How many
requirement.
thousands of people do you want to allow to rewrite the zoning? The zoning's there for a reason.
We met with Latonia and Leanne and looked at it all and we're like, yeah, this is perfect. This is like a beautiful, easy subdivision. Yes.
Like I said, I
I got no problem with the actual subdivision.
Yeah.
If it meets all the regs, that's fine, it's just that the map don't, says not.
I think we have to have a legally legitimate basis on which to rescind that restriction.
Well, you can see what he's gonna say is that these notes are enforceable by the planning board.
Yes,
Totally agree with that. It's enforceable by the planning board. If it's enforceable by the planning board, then it's unenforceable as well.
that
You
does
have
not
that power.
necessarily follow. The
I
question
think
is,
that-
must we enforce it? Or do we have an option not to? And my reading of things, and I'm not a lawyer, but still, is that we don't actually have the right to unenforce something.
Well, look, you can look back at what the planning board's powers are in the town law. The planning board has the power, right? First of all, taking a step back, under the common law, you can do what you want with your property under the Constitution, otherwise it's a taking. Now, of course, zoning laws have come in the 1920s, and it's under the police powers of the town to design the towns the way they want, to pass a comprehensive plan, and to set zoning, and everybody has to comply with that. The planning board is the one who decides about the impacts and how to mitigate those impacts, right? That's what you do day in and day out. Here, this guy came before him, says, I don't want 4 lots anymore, I only want 3. Correct. He said, why is that note on the plan? Well, we don't know, but he put it on there, went back to the minutes, went back to all the contemporaneous documents, could not find any reason whatsoever. If there were a reason, it'd be very important to know.
Yep.
But because there's no reason, then this planning board does have the inherent authority.
Well, if
decide
we
that.
talk to the Tascaros, we will find that if somebody talks to the
That's on
Tascaros,
them, that's their honest.
then if you get a notarized letter from him saying, whatever my reason was back then, I don't think it was important. I would feel like that was comfortable.
And then we'll say, we will also put into the new subdivision that we will not develop. But that is probably what, I'm sure that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's important to
Yeah.
tell him that.
And if we now say, yeah, we can rescind it, then anything you put on it doesn't have any binding power either. That's why we can't just go,
Well, at least you have a letter or some
no,
statement.
no, no, I
from
think
the
if we have a
original
letter and he doesn't remember that there was a particularly good reason for this, I would think that was better, but I would like John
Picture-wise-
to tell us that.
These are smaller lots because it is in the hamlet, and they meet all the setbacks, but they are already developed. There's no like we're building a house, like the house is already there, the water bills are there, there's separate electric, I'm just picture, yes.
I don't think any of us
I know.
requires convincing that this is a reasonable thing to do. The question is it a legal thing for us to do?
Well,
I think
that's
we
why
need
I
ground,
argue
I
about
think
it
we need
court all the
ground, I
time.
don't think we can just simply say, looks good to us.
Okay, so I say you guys work on the Frank Cashiero thing,
Okay.
that's what I,
And give us a little escrow for talking. to
I'll make an
John.
appointment to discuss with, our attorney a little bit further.
Because we would very much like to be able to help. And just,
And
I don't know about everybody
I
else,
agree with
but
that.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Work for Mineral areas. I will go to the county myself and ask.
Thank you.
I'll go right up there and ask them myself.
You work for Bringer and Larios?
Oh, that's who did the surveying.
So I'll go up to the county and I'll ask them myself.
That's perfect.
great.
If there's any reason the planning board can change what's on any map, not.
Is there a basis on which we can do that?
I don't think I think that probably what Dennis would say is that this is a local determination. You guys are.
Well, if that's what he says.
But if he says that, then that's an answer.
That's true.
I will go up there.
If he says you can't change it, that's an answer. If he says it's a local determination, that's a different answer.
I mean, I'm curious myself. I mean, I work with surveyors all day long and that's been
I
the
know
law.
what Judge Bott would say.
Well, it would be nice not to have to spend the money to find
It
that
sure
out.
would, and I think that the board is trying to be reasonable, on
We
this
are.
matter, and it seems.
I mean, if you took
logical
it to
and-
court, I think we would probably say we're not going to defend it.
I know,
That
but
would be
you're
my
right,
sense of it.
we don't like to save the money and the time and expense and headache of that. And
Yeah.
that's what we're really,
Yeah.
I think we're all in the
I
same.
don't have
boat.
any question at all, the judge could make the decision. But if
All
I can
right, so
find a way
let's
to
get
not
a-
do it
let's
that
get
way,
a,
let's do it.
A letter from Mr.
Yeah.
Cashiero.
I'm gonna just say exactly why I'm sure they made it. Here's our house. Here's Frank, here's Lou, he doesn't want a house here. Here's Frank, he doesn't want a house there. So that's exactly
Okay.
why they did it. And we're not gonna do that.
I just, yeah, just get the.
So Frank and Lou still live there?
Yeah, they do.
All right, so
Lucky.
let's go do our homework
Yep.
on that, and can we be on the next month's agenda? What's the date?
I will, let me get some balls rolling. Give me $550 for escrow so I can talk to John.
Yep.
Just come to my house.
I'll bring it tomorrow, yeah.
And I'll set that up. I'll schedule as soon as I have something to tell you.
All right, great.
Okay, probably this one. Or be March. Hopefully before May.
Unfortunately for me, I'm
You're going
away
on vacation?
the April 16th to the 20th.
No worries. Enjoy. I wish I was going in your suitcase with you.
4 days.
It'll probably be May. because I don't schedule this right now.
All right.
But I'll get you back as soon as I can. I don't schedule unless
I
I
wonder if I already.
make
have
sure
it
you're
in
available.
mind.
So I don't pull that.
Well, we certainly appreciate the board's time on this and interest. And
We appreciate all
You're-
of you.
you're
Feel your
absolutely
support, we
you
do.
are.
Like I
Yeah.
said, I'll check and see if
Say
there's
hi to
any
Dennis
precedent.
for me.
I'll check and see if there's any precedent for change.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yep.
everybody.
All right, I'll be in touch and then I'll see you with the check. Thank you.
Yeah. tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Came out to surprise.
Thank you.
All right, board, our next issue.
You have a question?
No. Sorry, I thought it was- never mind.
Our next issue, and this board has been very instrumental on creating some codes that are very important to Woodstock. One is the protection of the mountain sides that we worked on in the search overlay. And the next is the environmental issues, which is the wetlands. As you may or may not know, the state DEC, as of the first of this year, has changed their criteria and their codes and regulations for wetlands. The reason they did it is the same reason we have a wetlands code, is that in this town, for instance, there's only 2 state wetlands. They have to be 12.4 acres or more to be a state wetland. So we know if it happens to be in the state wetland, it goes to DEC. There's a lot of wetlands in this town that are under federal control, which is through the Army Corps of Engineers. They're the ones who control it. And that's based on the Clean Water Act, which is that the wetland has to have a hydrological waterway connection to a navigable waterway. That left 80% of the wetland.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, do we send a letter to ask the board, the town board, if they're even aware
I think we should do that.
that this is going
Yeah, they need to understand that this is going to impact
big time?
development big time, and
So are we-
it is not in our control.
Are we doing town board and CRC or just town board? Sorry.
Yeah, the supervisor and town board.
Okay.
They ask them if they've received the
Okay.
notification from DEC.
But everybody, I mean, the zoning board of appeals needs to know about it probably.
They don't
The
have.
environmental commission is kind of not functioning now, right?
Yeah, but ZBA doesn't see anything really to do with wetlands.
No, they
or
wouldn't.
whatever, So, no.
So the ZRC, because there may be a few things they would need to tweak in our law.
Yeah,
just
but I
bring
think
them
town
into
board's a
alignment.
good starting place. with this. I'll draft up something and have it for the next meeting. I don't think anyone looked at the scenic overlay.
Concerning what?
Well, we didn't send them because I was doing a draft and
Right.
Judy was supposed to look at it and I don't think she.
Oh, I didn't.
So next meeting, and Judy and I will put our heads
Okay,
together,
make
because
sure
I
that-
know it's confusing,
looked at it a
remember it was
bit.
a lot. And I already heard from them, it was only one paragraph, we already did this. I know. But Anyway. Okay, I'll work on a letter for that, you work on the scenic overlay one,
I'll have to find it.
I can resend it. I'm good at that. All right, and so in the beginning, I did really leave, when this all started forever ago, when I was in conferences, I was like, our law trumps, our law, we have a really great law, and there are towns that have nothing. So when I started
Gardner.
realizing there are really towns who have nothing, and then there are towns who have a lot more, like conservation and
But
more
you know-
environmentally.
Yesterday, I put my hand up and they wouldn't let me talk because they thought I was just gonna ask a question and I'm in the public. Even though I put in my legal Woodstock Planning Board Vice Chair, she didn't notice it. Anyway, what I wanted to say to them was that one of the changes since our law went into effect was the Hudsonian study, which everything is covered, not just the things that were identified
it's-
at the time that the law went.
It's
But
amazing.
we're the only town that has the.
I know, we have that study, and therefore we know that things like
NRI,
little intermittent streams
Yeah.
like the one on my property are
100%.
covered. That little pond
And
that
we
I
have a
dug,
town who has
that Peter said
wetlands
was okay, I couldn't do
person,
now,
that's not,
probably.
so. And then, once we got looking at everything, it was like, oh, wow, how's this gonna affect us? But I really strongly believe that we're not immune. Besides, needing
except-
to see these jurisdictional determinations.
Yeah, that's the thing that's different, that we can't act until they
Yes.
act.
Right.
Otherwise, what we
Right.
do is not gonna
Right, and
change.
even if they do get here, and we say, well, we're not gonna even look at this until we have a jurisdictional determination,
Right.
like, then that's what it is, that's where we're at.
And I don't know how the DEC is gonna deal with this. I know Brian knows personally, he's in charge of all 3 or 4 counties, one guy.
They'll hire all those EPA people that got fired by.
Well,
I
they
don't know
brought
how
in
to
a
do
few
it.
scientists when they were doing all this, but I wonder how long they're gonna go.
But,
for it too.
but the difference is this, and I tell everybody, I told the board yesterday, that the reason nobody goes into a DEC regulated wetland is because they find it $1,800 a day until it's fixed, which could take years. It kills the project.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Now, if the DEC says it's regulated, and if our wetlands inspector misses that, there could be some serious fines. If he didn't think that was a wetland and the DEC says it is, and you just put a house
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, move away.
Yep.
That's the issue. So,
Yeah, it's definitely.
so that's why I think we, as a board, need to ask the town board if they want our wetlands inspector to be the one to notify. the
Now, you
DEC.
said something yesterday that he's not a completely certified delineator.
He's not delineated.
He's an inspector, and that's
Yeah,
the
our
lower
code
level of
says
training.
you have to have a wetlands inspector, and our code says that inspector should be familiar with
Okay.
that. say,
Isn't required that it be, that he be
Doesn't say you have to
certified.
be a delineator.
Okay.
familiar. But he just has to look, yeah, that could be a wetland, better call it DEC.
Which is fine.
Yep.
I mean, it gets the work
Yep.
upstairs, but it's been a slow
Is
project.
more than other things.
But our first test is gonna be FEMA. The
Well,
code, the law right now says it doesn't come to us.
And there are other things that they,
Question up the road, going through the buffer that these guys.
oh, I know. I
Right
know.
now,
Now,
it's not
the
us.
DEC is gonna be the one to say you can't do that. And if they did another road across the Saukville, there are plenty of, plenty of, there's a lot of, there's a lot of really good people. I think the generational thing, if somebody said that. Somebody, you know, they found me by Woodstock, and that's
adjourn, guys.
All right.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second?
You didn't know the story, John?
All in favor?